it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. If you have been watching my channel recently, you'll know that I've been getting some oldie but goodie techniques out from the vault. And this card layout today is one that I used to do when I very first started stamping, and I was having a look at a card that I made a few years ago, a photo of it, and I really wanted to do it again because it's still a good card layout. So I'm starting off, you saw that darker piece of paper there, which is a dark grey colour, and I cut that down to 4 by 5¼ inches so that there's a nice little border on my card base. And then I took the same size piece of white cardstock here, and I have just cut off a tiny wee slither off the side so that will create a nice border. Then this is me just dawdling around for a second, trying to work out the measurements in my head and what each little space will need to be. I want the middle one to be the biggest one because that's where the sentiment is going to go. So off this piece of paper, I'm going to cut 1½ inches, and then I'm going to kind of do the other end first, and this will also be 1½ inches. And then I'm left with that bigger piece which will go in the middle, but as I said, I want there to be that tiny wee border so the grey shows through, so I will cut a little slither off this piece, and then this will end up being 1 7/8 inches tall. And then I'm done with all of my cutting, and this will kind of show you what I mean, how they're going to fit on my little piece of grey cardstock there. And now I'm going to start the stamping. So I'm using the Fiesta Blue. This is from the Catherine Paula, I think this is the Party collection. And then I'm using Coral Cabana and Suede Shoes, and I think this is maybe from the Carnivale collection, but I will link them down below. Then I'm going to use this 2 butterflies here, the smaller and the larger one, and then the little kind of almost berry-like twigs as well. So this is a really simple stamping technique, and it uses coordinating colors, and this is what I love most about card making, is that just with one ink pad we can kind of make everything coordinate. So I'm going around with some masking tape. This is some post-it note tape, and just masking off a tiny wee edge border, and I'm going to do this on all 4 sides of one of the panels. Obviously I have chosen the Coral Cabana, that's going to be my first colour. And to apply the ink, just what I had handy, I had a little makeup sponge, and so whatever you have works. And then we have this really nice little border created around the top panel. Whilst I'm at it, I have a scrap piece of paper here, and I'm going to use the leftover ink on my makeup sponge to kind of sponge some of that colour on, big enough to fit one of those butterfly stamps. And then all I'm going to do on the panel here is on the left hand side of the panel, I'm going to stamp off and then stamp onto my panel. So it's going to be a really nice light background. If I zoom in there, you can kind of see it. And it doesn't matter so much what this looks like if you get the ink a little bit uneven or anything, because this is going to be the background, obviously. So that is the Coral Cabana colour done, and I'm going to pop that to the side and then work on the next one down. I'm going to have Suede Shoes be here in the middle, so this is the slightly larger panel. And again, I'm just going to go around and ink up all of the edges. I'm pretty much going to do the same process for all 3 panels. As I was saying at the start of the video, this is kind of a technique that was really popular a while ago, this kind of card layout. And it's kind of a good one to come back to. I'm having fun circling around and looking at old videos that I've made and old cards that I made before I even started videoing. And yeah, I just am having a little bit of fun circling back around to the beginning. And you don't always have to rewrite the wheel or do something brand new when you are card making. It's super fun to try out new techniques and things, but it's also fun to go back to the ones that we know, and I know for myself I often forget about. So that's kind of what this video is today. And I also quite like these card techniques that there is nothing really complicated. You could sponge around the edges of these instead of masking them off. If you didn't want to mask, you could just do some light sponging around the edges to get that colour. And then the second generation stamping is really easy. You could use any foliage or any little flowers or any little dots would be perfect for the background there. You can definitely customize all of these kind of card designs for what you have in your stash. So as I'm going through with this card, I'm doing 3 things. I am inking up this spare little piece of paper with a little bit of ink. I'm just doing a little bit of blending. Then I'm doing the outside masking of my panel, and then I'm doing the second generation stamping, all 3 of those with the same ink color. And this, again, is a really easy way to kind of color coordinate all of your elements on your card. And this just helps me because it means I don't have to store kind of matching, coordinating colored cardstocks and things because I don't have the space for them. So that's how I get around that one and still make it work for me. So now I'm just taking this little bit of ink blending that we did, and I'm stamping a couple of the little butterflies on the dark blue and then the coral color. And then I want the big butterfly to be there on the light blue. I just need a little bit more. And you guys will know that just for luck, I like to stamp 2 of everything because often I will accidentally muck up one. And I know that there is a spare for me just in case. I am going to heat set these so I know that I won't smudge them when I'm going to fussy cut them out. The good thing about fussy cutting these is because they are a stamp, I am just going to cut off the kind of body of the butterfly and the antennae, and that makes it much easier for fussy cutting. I don't mind fussy cutting at all, but I don't like fussy cutting images with such fine elements or the tricky elements to them, so I'm a little bit choosy. Then I'm just taking my ink and colouring the sides of the cardstock core, which are white at the moment, and then I'm going to emboss these to make them a little bit something. I'm using some clear embossing powder, and I have used some VersaMark sticky embossing ink. This is the best embossing ink that I have come across. I've tried a lot. I've tried quite a lot of ink pads, and this is definitely the best by far. It is slightly pricier than some others that I have seen, but for me it's been worth the investment because I tried a lot of other ones before I came across this one. I know that there are also some home remedies using glycerin and things like that, so if you are able to do that, that's good too. And whilst I'm going to heat up these butterflies here, I'm going to heat them, and then before I let them cool, I'm quickly going to give them a little bend in the middle so that the embossing powder sets with that little curve, and this will help them stay like this rather than being flat on my page. So I like the shine and everything that the embossing powder gives, but I also want to give them that little bit of dimension. Now, using the letter at all the little things, one of my other favorite stamp sets for sentiments, I'm going to stamp out the thinking of you. Guys, I have needed so many of these cards recently at the moment. I'm not sure whether it's because we haven't been able to go to some events and things because of restrictions, so I'm definitely sending more cards for them. But yeah, I just find that I am using more of these. However, please remember that you can put any sentiment on these cards. I have so many cards like this that I feel like I say, just choose your sentiment whatever you want. It doesn't have to be the same sentiment whatsoever. So now I'm just going to place out these butterflies where I roughly want them to go, and again using the same inks, which makes it super easy. I'm just stamping down the 2 smaller butterflies, which is what I used for the top and the bottom panels. And as I said, I have them laid out kind of where I want them to go, so I know where I'm going to stamp, and then the larger butterfly will go in the middle. And this is what makes it nice and easy because now I have the body of the butterfly and the antenna there without me having to fussy cut them. So I'm just going to use some liquid glue, some multi-medium in the matte finish. I like the Ranger one, that is my favorite by far. I will leave links to everything down below in the description box in case you are interested. However, I'm sure this is a card where if you have a look through your stash, you would find some really good options. And I'm just going to glue down my little panels, and then the very last thing I'm going to do is add the butterflies on top. I mean, even the card like this is kind of beautiful. It's very simple, but I'm going to add on these little butterflies, and the wings are popped up slightly from that embossing powder, so I really like the fact that you can actually see the stamping underneath if you turn it to the side as well. I'm finishing it off with a couple of white gloss Nuvo drop dots, and that will cover up any of the little stamping faux pas that I had in the background. But that is my card for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, bringing this kind of older style card layout back to life, and I had heaps of fun creating it, and I still really love the look of this beautiful, clean and simple card. Thanks, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye! bye.